let's get something straight. Being nice is not the same as being strong, confident, or respected. Too many men believe that if they just cater, please, and play it safe, they'll get the respect, love, and admiration they want. Stop seeking approval. Seeking approval is a sign of insecurity, and insecurity is the fastest way to kill attraction. When you constantly adjust yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you're not being authentic, you're performing. And people can feel that. Women can sense when a man is operating from a place of neediness, from a place of please like me, please accept me, please don't leave me. And nothing is more unattractive than a man who doesn't stand on his own 2 feet. Instead of seeking approval, seek respect. And respect comes from being real. It comes from standing by your values, your opinions, and your standards, even when it's uncomfortable. If you're afraid to say no, if you're afraid to disagree, if you're constantly filtering yourself to avoid conflict, then you're giving up your power. And when you give up your power, you lose respect, not just from others, but from yourself. Think about the men you admire most. Are they constantly looking for permission to speak? Are they trying to make sure everyone around them is comfortable at all times? Or do they walk into a room and command attention simply by being who they are? Real leaders don't chase approval. They earn respect. And they earn respect because they know exactly who they are and refuse to apologize for it. Women admire men who have their own direction, their own mission, their own backbone. They want a man who can challenge them, who can stand toe-to-toe with them, who doesn't crumble under pressure. They don't want a man who agrees with everything they say just to keep the peace. They want a man who can say, I hear you, I understand you, but I see it differently. And that's okay. That kind of confidence is magnetic. So stop worrying about whether people approve of you. Stop deluding yourself just to be more likable. The world doesn't need more nice guys. It needs more strong, grounded, unapologetic men who respect themselves enough to never settle for anything less than the life they truly want. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment you become truly powerful. And when you step into that power, the right people will recognize it, respect it, and want to be around it. Nice guys crave comfort. They avoid conflict. They hesitate to speak up because they don't want to rock the boat. But confidence isn't about making people comfortable. It's about owning who you are, standing firm in your beliefs, and refusing to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. Women are drawn to certainty, not arrogance, not ego, but certainty. A man who knows where he's going in life doesn't need to beg for attention or overcompensate with grand gestures. His presence alone commands respect. He doesn't apologize for his standards. He doesn't second guess his decisions just because someone else might not like them. And he sure as hell doesn't prioritize being nice over being respected. Look around. Who are the men that women are naturally drawn to? It's not the ones constantly agreeing, constantly giving, constantly waiting for permission to be great. It's the ones who exude confidence, who walk into a room with an energy that says, I know who I am. I don't need to prove anything. That kind of self-assurance is rare, and anything rare is valuable. And if you're always afraid of upsetting someone, always trying to make sure everyone likes you, you're not living. You're performing. And performing is exhausting. You lose yourself in the process. You become a watered down version of who you could be. But when you stop playing that game, when you decide that your confidence is more important than other people's comfort, everything changes. Women don't respect men who back down. They don't admire men who avoid difficult conversations just to keep the peace. They may tolerate it for a while, but deep down, they want a man who stands for something, who challenges them, who leads with certainty. So don't be afraid to have an opinion. Don't be afraid to take up space. Don't be afraid to say no. The world respects men who respect themselves. And self-respect means knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and refusing to settle for anything less than the life you want. The moment you stop seeking validation and start living from a place of true confidence, you become unstoppable. And the right people, women included, will recognize that power and be drawn to it. Being a provider, being generous, and being kind are all great qualities. But when they come from a place of fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear of losing someone, they stop being strengths and start becoming weaknesses. Too many men think that if they just give more, do more, and sacrifice more, they'll be loved and appreciated. But in reality, giving from a place of desperation only leads to resentment, frustration, and a loss of respect. Women don't admire a man who gives because he's afraid of losing her. They admire a man who gives because he chooses to, because he's already whole, because he's already secure, because his life is already abundant. There's a massive difference between a man who gives out of strength and a man who gives out of insecurity. One says, I have more than enough and I want to share it with you. The other says, please don't leave me. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you. And guess which one is respected? Strength isn't about constantly doing things for someone else in the hopes that they'll love you more. Strength is about knowing your worth and never tying it to someone else's approval. A man who respects himself doesn't give endlessly to someone who doesn't appreciate it. He doesn't tolerate disrespect just because he's afraid of being alone. He doesn't let his fear dictate his actions. He knows that his time, energy, and presence are valuable, and he shares them only with those who recognize and appreciate that value. So if you're bending over backward, hoping that more effort, more gifts, more patience will make someone see your worth, stop. Respect isn't earned through servitude, it's earned through strength. And strength means knowing when to walk away. It means setting boundaries and sticking to them. It means being willing to lose someone rather than lose yourself. The moment you start living from a place of strength rather than fear, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop overgiving, and you stop allowing yourself to be undervalued. And when you do that, the right people, women included, will recognize your worth and treat you accordingly, not because you begged for it, but because you demanded it through your actions. At the end of the day, leadership is what sets a man apart. Women aren't drawn to men who hesitate, who seek permission, who wait for someone else to tell them what to do. They're drawn to men who take charge of their own lives, who have a vision, who don't second guess themselves every step of the way. If you're constantly looking for validation before making a decision, you're not leading, you're following. And no one is inspired by a follower. You don't need to control anyone. You don't need to dominate, but you do need to be in control of yourself. That means knowing what you want, moving toward it with conviction, and refusing to be derailed by the fear of what others might think. When a man leads with purpose, people notice. He doesn't need to prove himself. He doesn't need to seek approval because his energy alone makes it clear he is on a mission. This isn't about being aggressive or trying to overpower anyone. It's about being solid in who you are, so much so that the world around you adjusts to your energy, not the other way around. Because when you truly lead, when you truly own your presence, the right people will follow, not because you ask them to, but because they can't help but be drawn to the strength you radiate. When you stop trying to impress and start living with purpose, everything shifts. Too many men spend their lives chasing validation, thinking that if they just say the right thing, do the right thing, or act the right way, they'll finally be chosen. But the truth is, real power comes from knowing you don't need to be chosen. You choose yourself first. When you have a mission, a vision, a drive that extends beyond relationships, you become magnetic. Not because you're trying to be, but because people can feel your energy, your confidence, your direction. A man who leads his own life doesn't waste time over analyzing texts, worrying about whether he's being liked enough, or bending over backward to fit into someone else's world. He's too focused on building his own. And in doing that, he naturally attracts the right people. Women aren't drawn to men who wait around to be picked. They're drawn to men who are already moving, already growing, already leading. The second you stop seeking approval and start living for yourself, You separate yourself from the crowd. You go from being one of many to being one of a kind. The goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be so grounded in who you are that the right people respect, admire, and want to be part of your world. When you operate from that level of certainty, you don't chase, you attract.